And I have to apologize in advance if I need to mute myself. There's a plumber in my house and my dog is a little excitable.
Right.
But this is my first, sorry.
It's okay. I just think point of order, Eric needs to open the meeting. I believe Eric is the chair, correct?
Yeah, I guess I am. We haven't met for so long.
I don't remember agreeing to that, but all right.
Yeah, I think I just been hanging on for
Yeah.
year after year. All right, so this is September 23rd, meeting of the TIF and Tie Committee, and we'll take a roll call.
Councilors Jen Cullum,
Here.
Nicholas Atzelis. He's with us. He's just off. Eric Steinhilber.
Here.
You have full quorum.
All right, now we're official. Go ahead, Ryan, or Elizabeth, whoever wants to kick it off.
I'm happy to. This is my first time before you as a group. My first time processing a tie application through the town. So any questions, interrupt me and I'll try to address those. We received an application for a local only tax increment exemption from Dennis Mason of Seashore Homes shortly after they received their special permit to redevelop property at 63 Main Street in Hyannis. There was a change of use from, I believe, medical office to 8 one-bedroom apartments and 1 office. It received special permit approval because it was alteration of a pre-existing non-conforming use and structure, I believe, or structure, not use. So we had internally reviewed the application and consistent with the HDIP criteria and have presented a staff report to you today to consider whether or not to recommend to town council their request for an incremental exemption over a 20-year period for the project. The exemption from years 1 to 5 is requested at 80% and years 6 to 10 at 50%. The HDIP program, as you may be aware, has not been recapitalized through the Economic Development Bill. So this would be a local only exemption. There's not a pool of funds that the applicant is seeking from the state, but it does still need approval from DHCD since it's their program that enables us to grant these exemptions locally. The property is under construction. It's advisable by DHCD that construction not begin until local authorization has been achieved, but I think the applicant was anxious to get started. Anything that I've overlooked, Elizabeth, I'll ask you to jump in and remind me if there's something I need to touch on. But other than that, I think any questions you have about the staff report that we've presented to you, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
I have nothing further at this point, Ryan. I think you did a good overview. Maybe Mark wants to take an opportunity just to run through the applicant's request regarding the exemption percentage. I apologize, maybe you talked about that, but good to know what sort of financially they're looking for in those implications.
Would it be helpful to share my screen with the report?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Sure.
Okay.
Cindy will have to.
I think, Cynthia, you might have to allow me to do that.
Councilor Atzelis is stuck on mute as well.
Okay, how's that? Can everyone see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the
Just one minute. Cindy, are you able to get Councilor Atzelis off of mute? He can hear us, but he can't unmute.
Let me try.
Okay.
He needs
Thanks.
to go
Go ahead,
back,
Ryan.
get out and go back in or something.
let me contact him, and tell him to go out and come back in again.
Okay. I know he can hear us, but. Ryan, you can go ahead.
I kind of think we should wait for Nick. I mean, this is the pith of the matter right here, right? Can we just wait a couple of minutes and,
Well, I thought he could hear us, but
oh, okay.
all right, we'll wait. He said he could hear everything, but he.
Since there's only 3 of us voting on it, you know?
All right, I'm in.
All right, good stuff.
So as Jen correctly pointed out, the real substance of the request is captured here. Working with the assessor, who determined that the estimated value of the project was about 1.3 million upon completion. That's using the FY22 tax rate, which will obviously change over time. So these are real just rough estimates as to what the cost of the exemption, I suppose, would be to the town or the benefit of it to the applicant. And again, the request is 1 to 80% for years 1 through 5 and 50% for years 6 through 10. And these are values $5,800 per year for the first 5 years, $3,600 per year for the remaining 15 years.
Do we know what the property taxes are currently on the property as it was or is?
Let me see if I can get that for you really quickly.
It's currently about $3,815.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I think it's always good just for the record that maybe we have that included in the reports, just because usually this is still an increase in tax base, even though we're giving them a reduction. So I think that's just good for people to know.
And that's just the town tax. It's not the fire district tax.
Right.
This will not apply to the fire district tax.
Correct. Anything
What is
else?
the- Yeah,
go
what is
ahead.
I do, not about the cost, but about what a good faith effort means to retain market rate for over 10 years. It's on, in my, no, let me see if I can get a page that makes sense. It's under the Housing Development Incentive Program. It's page 2 of that, section 3B. I can read it if you want. It says, there shall be a total of 8 residential rental units in the project, of which 8 shall be MRRUs, comprised of 1 bedroom and 1 bath in each unit. So it just goes on to talk about its market rate residential units, and the sponsor shall use good faith efforts to maintain the units as MRRUs for a minimum of 10 years. What is a good faith effort and what happens after 10 years?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that developers and property owners derive their market rate rents based on HUD's annual fair market rent values that are published on an annual basis. I would have to defer to the applicant to answer that question. So.
Well, that'll be something I'll ask at the town council when it comes before us, because, you know, not for nothing, I've seen some agreements not get not be executed in good faith, actually, on the part of the applicant. And although I understand and appreciate that section of town really needs a facelift and we really need the housing units, I'm just a little leery of getting put over a barrel, having given, what is it, upwards of, I wrote it here somewhere, like $50,000 and really, you know, over the course of 10 years. So Ryan, in the beginning, you said it was a 20-year agreement, but it's actually a 10-year agreement, right?
Did I misspeak? I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure, yeah, it's
Yeah.
because it's 80
It was
and
more
50.
than, it was more than 10 years, you mentioned.
Yes, so I'm sorry, there's a typo in my report. The request, I believe, is for 20 years. I need to verify that.
So then we're at 80 and 50 through 10 years, and then where do we go? That's another question.
Yeah.
I'll need that information before I can vote on this.
Okay.
And and if I may, to Jen's point about the 10-year part, so that the question I have is what happens after 10 years, meaning I'm not talking about the financial piece. After 10 years, will it remain apartments? Is
Right.
it, can they turn them into condos, which we obviously wouldn't necessarily want to do that. So I'd want to know more about that as well, to Jen's original point, to add on to that.
I think any future alteration of the property would require review by the planning board. There is a special permit that recognizes this use in this altered pre-existing non-conforming structure. So I think that any change of use would require some form of land use relief through the town.
One more quick question. This is for year-round residents only. We're not talking short-term rental sort of a thing, right?
No.
Correct, that's my understanding.
Is that written in here?
It was in the applicant's letter.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
missed
believe it's
that.
a condition of his special permit as well.
Okay,
I can
I'd want to
verify
see that written out too.
It
And
was-
some of the, I believe it's a condition of the program, participation in the program, and will go into the agreement, the tie agreement. Also, I think with the expiration after whatever the period of relief is, or to the good faith effort, certainly there might be some scenarios where a landlord has the opportunity to rent for more than market rate, or gets into a situation and it wants to rent below market rate. I mean, these are very small scale units and probably not going to be faced with the opportunity to increase those rents too much.
I think there's 365 square feet.
And speaking of rent, I did read in the summary page. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. I'm in my car, but it did say that there was a $1,625 per month for these particular units, which is recognized as being higher than market rate for the units that size. So I just want to understand that as well. That was something in one of the summary pages. I want to say, I can't remember. Again, I don't have it in front of me, but I remember reading that. So I'd want to get a little more clarification on that, because if on one hand they're saying market rate, but on another hand, I'm reading that it's above market rate for units that size. And $1,600 a month, frankly, it's a lot of money for a 300
square foot.
for less than 400 square foot, one bedroom. So we need to look at that as well.
Although let's not kid, I mean, this section of town could certainly use a new segment of rental.
Oh, I don't
units.
disagree. No, I don't disagree with you. I just want some clarity, because we're talking market rate, but then it says it's above market rate. So I just
Right.
want to understand that better.
Right.
Yeah, understood. I agree with you.
What are the, I have a couple questions.
Mhm.
Kind of playing off of Rob Brennan's project. What were the average size, one bedroom, one bath apartments in that building? And just if you recall, if you don't recall, it's fine. I just was looking for a refresher on, I can't remember what we voted on there.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that they started at 550 square feet for the one bedrooms.
Do you remember what they went for?
I feel like his started maybe $1,700 or $1,800 a month.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
For small
think also
apartments
in
for
the
1650.
in the applicant's letter, I think it also talks about, it realizes, that rent may look a little bit high, but it was reflecting the cost of the construction as well, which is,
Yeah.
2 years ago, you were probably doing 140 to 170 a square foot. But now when you talk to folks, it's 300 to 350 a square foot. and
Yeah.
with no relief in sight. So
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about the second question, and kind of unrelated to the first question, is what is the normal term for a TIF agreement? Is there a normal term that we do? Is it, 10 years? Is that normal? 20 seems very long to me to give relief for 20 years and how fast our economy's been changing. I don't know if I'm up for 20. Do we have some sort of a metric? Like what is the average that we?
I'm not sure there's a normal. Go ahead, Ryan. We've done two of them at this point, the
Mhm.
850 residences and the one that's sort of more akin to this, which was Mr. Dewey's project over on Pearl Street. I don't know if you have that in front of you, Ryan. I want to say that one was 10 years.
And there's another one we can compare it to. How big were his 1-bedroom apartments and what is
Yeah.
he charging?
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, we want to, I'd actually like to look at that, right, that TIF agreement. Could you forward me that? Maybe forward the committee that so we can look at it as a, I don't know, a bookend, or check it out and just see what the terms were on that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Let me pull that out.
We're looking at the Mason's application here, they, under section 5, they are asking for 10 years.
I see the same thing, Mark, 10 years. So I think you're right, Ryan.
20 years would be.
Okay.
I think you can go up to 20 years.
You can
That
go
you-
20 under the
You
program.
can go up to 20,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think that's where I was confused because I just pulled up the 39 Pearl TIF and that was a 20-year
Oh,
agreement.
okay. All right. Do you have the percentages on that one, Ryan? You have it open right there?
I believe Dennis modeled his after this, so 85%, or no, didn't, 85% years 1 through 5, 60% years 6 through 10, and 50% years 11 through 20.
And who is that development?
That was Jake doing.
It's Jake. So Jake has a 20-year.
Pearl Street, yeah.
Pearl Street.
And these folks are the general contractor on that one? The Masons, if I remember
Yes, they
correctly?
were.
Yeah, that's correct.
How many units did Jake have?
9, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I don't
Yeah,
think
there
I
was
could
one
find-
existing one building that was modified and then 3 new duplex buildings.
I don't think I was on the TIF committee when that went through, right? I have no recollection of voting for that, but that doesn't mean it didn't do
Yeah, I
it.
don't know. It was a little while ago. It was definitely during, it was on Zoom. So it was during COVID. Yeah.
It was a long time ago. I mean, that one's sort of more, I mean, obviously it's to scale and it was local only. So they're just not looking for the tax credits, just looking for relief from local property taxes.
And these were townhouse style apartments, so a little bit of a different living configuration.
So with regard to what is being paid, and it was Chandler Bosworth's property before, wasn't it? This place, I think so. So with regard to the taxes, we're almost at a break-even scenario if we give the TIF, if we support that, because of what the valuation is in taxes that are being paid now on the bill. Right, so what we're doing is,
I think Mark had said it was, right now, it was 3,000 something, and this would bump up to 5,800, is that right? For the first 5 years?
that's their savings on it, if we give them that.
As you're saying, yeah, their
Yeah.
tax.
I mean, after year 5.
It'd be about $9,000 tax bill with no TIF or no tie. Is estimated value of 1.3 million with a current tax rate of 864. Yeah, so we'd be providing about, the relief is about $5,900 a year the first 5 years.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that like what we're getting off the property right now is what, like $5,000 a year or something like that? Like it's not a
About
huge difference from.
Yeah, about 3,500 a year right now.
Yeah. My big sticking point is what good faith means and what happens after 10 years.
I do want to add, just so you're aware, sort of the other hat here, we're looking at an incentive to provide market rate, but we're also talking a lot about how we can enhance affordability and deed restricted affordability in the town. I did approach the applicant through Ryan and propose the potential for funding through the housing trust. They fund community housing units at 100% for about this rate of $50,000. So somewhat equal to the amount of the relief being offered here. But under that scenario, we would be able to get 100% deed restricted unit.
What was the response?
They are proceeding here.
They are proceeding with.
They're not going to meet with the housing trust fund.
No, they're
Oh.
keeping this application.
Why? Because they don't want the deed restriction?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of the same because, at a unit at 100% is a market rate unit. There is a process that you have to go through to deed restrict those units. It's a lot, it's more streamlined at 100% than it is at, say, 80 or 65, a unit that's going on your subsidized housing inventory. But certainly still a cost and a lift to the applicant.
And the deed restriction is in perpetuity, whereas there isn't any sort of restriction here.
But the deed restriction would it be on all units or one unit within the building?
The
Just wanna
trust
make-
normally funds, units. They will fund up to $50,000 for per unit.
Per
So
unit.
it would just be one unit. Yeah.
I kinda
But
like
that is
idea
a
better.
strategy we've tried to pursue at the trust when we see these new units coming online, offering that money up front to in exchange for deed restrictions.
Well, that certainly makes more sense to the taxpayer, doesn't it? I mean,
Councilor Atlas, did you have any questions?
None at this time.
I think Councilor Cullum, you want to see the language on the good faith, exactly what that means before we take up a vote. Is that correct?
I do, and I really like the idea of the housing trust lifting this at $50,000 versus the taxpayer having to bear the brunt of it, like. If it's easy, it's available to them to do it another way, then why should the town not receive the taxes?
Okay, so I guess
Can I jump in?
no, hold on.
Okay,
So is it the wish of the committee that we table this and come back after that language is cleared up?
Yeah, for me, it is,
Elizabeth, Ryan, are we under a strict deadline? I know they've already broken ground, but it's not like we haven't approved these before when things have broken ground, so.
I can meet tomorrow, like, it's fine, I can meet Monday, like, I just want some
Yeah.
clarification on that, and also I just don't really understand what's in it for us. If we grant this, when the housing trust can give the money at 50 grand. That's really what I don't understand.
And there's obviously no guarantee they'd have to go through that process, but you guys asked some really good questions and we can do a little homework. We do need 48 hours, but we can
Right.
bring it back.
Yeah,
So we could come back to this sometime next week?
Yeah.
And maybe we can get those answers from the proponent as well as to why they're choosing this as opposed to the other.
yeah. And what's in it for us?
Okay,
Because the benefit is only to them, no matter what. Well, no, we want the housing, obviously. But
yeah,
the
well,
benefit is really to us if we get one unit in perpetuity at market rate, because they're clear in this contract that after 10 years, it's up for grabs.
right, and
I
it's
don't know.
always a balancing act because we desperately need the housing. The cost
Right.
of construction is through the roof, which makes it almost impossible to get housing built. So the only thing we can do is zoning relief or financial relief to try to help that, whatever form that financial relief is, so.
Right, but if the
It's a
mechanism is
balancing
in
act.
place in another way, and we don't lose the tax revenue,
Right,
and we get a deeded unit, that seems like the more prudent way to go from my perspective.
6 of one, half dozen of the other, right?
I'll take the half dozen. That's the
Yeah.
way it sounds.
All right, so that'll be the kind of the wishes of the committee. So we don't need to take a vote on that, but I think you guys understand what the committee is looking for some answers. All
Yes.
right, and so now I'll take if there's any public comment before we close out. Councilor Starr?
Yes, thank you very much. My comment is about the deed restrictions and how onerous is that on the landlord? Especially with, when you only have 8 units. Is there any way we can help them go through that process? They have to do a lottery. Is that part of the problem? That costs money? If they have a deed
Yes,
restricted?
the affirmative, I can answer that if that's helpful.
Yeah, go ahead.
The affirmative fair marketing that we would require for an affordable unit does include a lottery and that is an expense. However, there is a program that's just been reestablished, the Ready Renter program administered by the town of Yarmouth, and that brings that cost down a little bit to the applicant. So we would certainly provide staff support and work with them if they were a recipient of trust funds to help advise them on that process.
What is the cost to the applicant? Out of curiosity.
It can be anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 per unit for the initial lottery and lease up.
Really?
Right, so somehow, maybe the housing trust should support that somehow,
Yeah,
because that affects everybody who wants to do something like this.
that's right. I mean, that hamstrings everybody. Like now I want to give them the tax relief because we're not about punishing them. We're just about finding the money for them in a way that's less burdensome for the taxpayers.
And a lot of that's state driven too, some of that cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all the stuff that adds up, and it makes it
Right.
nearly impossible to get the housing we need. It's really,
Are there other costs hidden in that we should look at? Because if it's going to total that much money, then I don't think that's a viable option anymore. I mean,
There's an annual monitoring requirement as well that the housing authority typically provides in situations like this. That's $200 per unit, just to ensure that the tenants meet the income to be eligible for that unit.
and in this case, it would be the 1 unit, not all 8 units, just to be clear. Okay.
And excuse me, if that person excuse me, leaves in the 10 years, you have to go through the lottery again?
No, you don't.
usually you have a list.
yeah.
A waiting list, so you go to
Okay.
the next person on the list.
Now, Mr. Bornstein was having trouble with his affordable units. Did he, because of this, because it was so expensive to do the lottery and get started? Has he put people into his units yet?
Yes, we have connected him with the Ready Renter program in Yarmouth, and there is a current lottery for the 2 units at 319 Main Street.
Okay,
It's active.
thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything they want to add? Okay. Well, we know what we're looking for information. We'll revisit this next week. The proponents, obviously, if they want to attend, are welcome to. So at this point, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Just point of information,
Yeah,
should we
go ahead.
maybe schedule a meeting now for next week since we're all present and then Cindy doesn't have to play ping pong?
Yeah, I don't know if staff's able to do that on the spot, or you know how long this is going to take to put together.
It's up to you. I just thought since we're all here, maybe it would be a good idea.
Elizabeth, how long do you and your staff need to coordinate the answers before we meet again? Because I just need 48 hours to post.
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably largely dependent on responses from the applicant. I think we can get the facts that you guys asked for together in close order, but maybe we can set a time, but if you guys want them here, then I need to confirm that with
Do you
them.
want to, they don't have to attend, but they're certainly welcome. Do you want to just set it up for next Friday? And if we need to bump it
Yeah,
out,
see,
we will.
Friday, I'm unavailable on Friday. I have a
Okay.
work meeting in Norton, but I could do Thursday
Okay. I'm okay
or
on
Wednesday.
Thursday.
Councilor Atzelis, are you okay with Thursday's meeting?
Right now I am.
Any
Super
chance we could do
popular,
it
I
later
like
in the day? Ryan and I think both have a 9:30. I don't know if
Yeah,
that meeting
can
is
do it later
happening,
in the day.
Ryan, but I have it on my calendar.
Yeah, it's TDI.
TDI, yeah.
Earlier is better.
I can do 8 in the morning. It's
I
fine
can
with
do
me.
8.
Does that work for you, Ryan?
I could do 8.
8:10, no. All right, well, why don't we do that 8 o'clock? Hopefully that's a little bit better for everybody. And if something comes up and you don't have the stuff put together, just we'll reschedule it.
That's September 29th at 8.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. All right. So now I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Counselors, Counselor Jen Cullum,
Yes.
Counselor Nicholas Atzelis,
Yes.
Counselor Eric Steinhilber.
Yes.
You are adjourned at 9:34 a.m.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.